working with us. So gone are the days of this hierarchical, rigid structures in companies where, like I said, the big bad boss is in the corner office and you can't go talk to them. We like to work with you rather than for you. So it's kind of just a different way of speaking to someone, or just a different way of working with someone. Sure, you're their supervisor, you're their manager, you're going to be above them, and we know that. We're going to respect that. But it's really awesome to see also that, hey, you want to work with us. You want to treat us kind of like a colleague, bounce ideas off of us even, which is unheard of for past generations. You don't bounce ideas off of your employees beneath you. You just kind of do them yourself. So it's kind of changing this whole method of thinking, getting rid of these hierarchies, a way that you can actually implement this physically in the office. Maybe you're bringing someone in for an interview and you're used to being behind the desk, they're over there, you have this kind of barrier between you. Maybe grab another chair, sit on the same side of the desk as them when you're interviewing them. Be like, hey, I want to get to know you. Why should you work here? Things like that. Just have a conversation, but without that barrier. Because believe it or not, it may be subconscious, but that desk between you might be a barrier in communication. They might not feel as comfortable with sharing maybe their concerns about working with you, or something that they're feeling about the workplace that they didn't want to ask you before. So kind of just that friendly colleague structure is very helpful when it comes to working with millennials. So contrary to what many of you think, a lot of millennials crave a mentor that will actually be involved with their personal growth, with their personal development. And it's interesting because the baby boomers are usually, at this point, they're at the top levels of companies, they're managers, they're executives, because they're older, they've been there a while. And they actually have this mindset that they want to impart their wisdom onto people as they're kind of thinking about moving into retirement. So it's this perfect match made in heaven that these boomers, these Gen Xers, will kind of take on millennials and mentor them, and the millennials will be very responsive to that mentorship, because believe it or not, we want someone who is actually invested in our growth, but also that can teach us something. We also really like to learn by doing, rather than being told what to do. Do this and this and this, click that, there, then this. We want to kind of figure it out ourselves. Give us this final task that we need to complete, but don't give us the step by step. Since we're very entrepreneurial, just let us figure it out, which is even better for you, because then you don't have to sit there and walk them through every step, but rather you're giving them more power, more responsibility, which in turn will create more personal attachment to the issue or the problem or whatever they're trying to do, and they'll be more inclined to solve it for you. So how we work. This is kind of a brand new concept, and it definitely doesn't work in some workplaces like a grocery store cashier. You're not going to just say that you can be flexible in your working hours, because you got to be there when you got to be there. But some companies where they have specific outputs, that maybe they're working on a task that's organizing, the patients coming into the nursing home, and they have to, put it out on a spreadsheet or something. That's something that, sure, they can work on in the office, but like I said before, if they don't finish at the office, they can use their computer, take it home, and do it on their own. So this is kind of a new method of working, time versus output. So for years past, it's always been seen, you do the 9 to 5, you go home, be with your family, live your normal life. But now this mindset is changing, with 77% of millennials claiming that having flexible hours would make them more productive at work. So I just read this article about this new company that they're actually changing their hours from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. They don't have a lunch break, but 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. straight, 5 hours straight, and their revenue, their results, their productivity has increased. I think it was like threefold. It was exponential growth, because these people feel, let's get it all done quick. So they're being super productive when they're in the office. They're getting everything done, and then they're going home and they get to, live their life. They get to be real people with this work-life balance, which I'll get to later. So if there are certain things, I put a little section on the handout, and I apologize that I don't have enough handouts for everyone, but if there's tasks you can think of offhand, like organizing that spreadsheet online, or thinking of ideas for this solution or this task. It's just certain things that you don't necessarily need to be in the office, at the office for. And you don't need to be spending a certain number of hours on it, for example. Because if you're giving us 9 to 5 hours to finish a task, and it's only going to take us 3 hours, what do you think we're going to be doing for the rest of those hours? Goofing off, on our phones, because we feel like, oh, well, I have 8 hours to do something that takes me 3, so obviously I'm going to go really slow, and I'm not going to finish it before, or else I'm going to be super bored. So that's not really good for productivity. So if you have certain tasks you can think of, write those down and maybe talk to your employees, all of your employees, not just millennials. Hey, if you could finish this by next week, if you could finish this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by next week, great. Like it doesn't matter if you're here until 5, 6, 7 p.m., but if you can finish it, that's great, and gold star for you. So that's going to be a huge mindset change. And obviously it doesn't work in all scenarios. If you have to, clean the floors outside, you kind of had to be here to do that, a certain number of hours to do that. But in some instances, certain tasks, it could work that way. And flexibility is really important to us. So that's just recognizing that and understanding that, you're already a step ahead. So feedback. This is kind of a quick question, just because this one even took me by surprise, being a millennial. So this was a pretty shocking statistic or fact for me to realize. And I think a lot of people don't realize it about millennials, because we're always on our phones, we're always on our computers, checking our emails, checking our Facebook. So which one do you think we appreciate? So if you're giving us feedback, how we did in last month, our quarterly feedback report, how do you think we want to receive it? Email, face-to-face, texting, phone call. Text? Yeah, that's what I thought. No, we want face-to-face. Yeah, which is so weird for me, because I'm like, well, it's so much easier to just look at my text and see what everyone thinks of me. But no, we actually want it face-to-face, because this is also surprising. So since we're always on our phones, we're always on our computers, it means that much more to us when someone takes the time to go and tell us what they think of how we're doing at work or what we could improve upon. And we're so much more personally attached to those concerns that they're having or what they like about what we've been doing at work, that we want to keep doing it, because then we know they're going to come tell us. It's so much better to hear, oh my gosh, you're doing an amazing job in person, than, hey, amazing work, emoji, smiley face, happy face. Like it's just more fulfilling to be told in person. Everyone can understand that. And so there's a statistic that 51% of millennials say they would prefer to communicate with a colleague in person, as opposed to only 19% that prefer email or text. So that's surprising. And that's maybe something that maybe you guys could learn from. I sure learned from that. Because when if you want to give them your honest opinions, it's better just to do it in person, take a little time, and go talk to them. Like I said, this quote, very surprising. Okay, so put a ring on it. So I'm talking about engagement. Employee engagement, which Reiner is really an expert on here. But when it comes to millennial engagement, we're really interested in being part of something bigger. I know I have friends that they go to work, they work at their cubicle, they talk to their supervisor maybe once a day if they're having a problem. They go home, and they're just super jealous of my other friend who's at work, hanging out with their coworkers after work, and when they're at work, they actually just can go down the row and talk to their friends at work, because they have friends at work. They have more interactions, they have more check-ins, meaning their bosses, their supervisors are coming in every so often to tell them, hey, that was really awesome what you did, could you fix this today? Just more interactions in general. And then having a freaking happy hour after work. That's like the most fun thing ever. And a lot of people don't have any group fun after work, which is a huge downer for a lot of people, because they're like, I just want to be in a great community with great people that align with my passion, align with what I want to do, and we can bond on that after work, and we're not sick of each other. We don't want to run away from each other after work. So engagement is huge. 57%, or no. So millennials say that they put in 57% more effort into things, and they're 87% less likely to quit if they feel engaged at work. So that's a huge statistic. They just want to be part of a community. And you can easily do that just by even a little lunch get together, go down the street, grab a bite to eat with a couple of your employees, just to kind of bond outside of work. That's going to be huge. That causes a lot of great things. Yeah?
Margaritas.
There you go. I'm coming with you. Yeah, no, so little things like that are easy for you, fun for you. And if they're not, don't force it. We're big on, being true to yourselves. Don't be like, well, I guess I got to arrange a happy hour tonight. If you're not that kind of a person, you work with what you have. Maybe you're way better at just during work, sitting down one-on-one with someone and just having a chat about life. You don't want to do the big happy hour group session. That works too. Anything like that where there's interactions, there's check-ins, That's huge for us, and we really appreciate that. So work-life balance, this is huge. A lot of generations in the past obviously very much value having a life outside of work. But again, because of the way things are changing within companies, within workplaces, millennials are the first generation that can actually turn down, move on, reject a job because it's not giving them the balance that they need or want. And because we can be picky, we are being picky. And it's not fair to past generations, sure, but it's because of those past generations that it's gotten to this point. And like your kids and their kids will have even more work-life balance because of the path that's been paved in this area. So lack of flexibility was actually cited among the top reasons that millennials quit jobs. And this goes back to what I was saying about the time versus output, the flexible working hours. If you're not able to give flexible working hours, that's fine, but at least appreciate that these people have a life outside of work. Anyone, this isn't just millennials, but anyone, they have a life outside of work. I have a friend right now, every day this week she's been working 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. at the office. She's not like an investment banker. This should not be, she's a consultant, sure, but her hours should not be going that long. And she's constantly texting us. She's like, guys, I hate my job, I hate my boss because she's not letting me leave, even though I've gotten everything done that I've done that I needed to for the day. So she's just sitting there because she feels like she can't leave because her boss gets frustrated with her if she leaves. It doesn't make sense. She's finished everything she's needed to and gone above and beyond and done even more than she needed to. But she's still sitting at work. So that's really lowering her morale and what she thinks of her boss, obviously, which is not a good thing for keeping an employee for a long term.